Hello and welcome to another episode of Retro Tech. Again, I've been going through some old tech and this is what I found. I found this, which is an EyeFi card, which was a very interesting thing around 2011, about 14 years ago. I've also found this bizarre little CD, and I've got a CD to compare it to. Or maybe this is a DVD. No, this is actually a compact disc. So let's get this one out of the way first. So you don't really get this anymore, but when you used to buy things like cameras and things like that, you used to get a CD which contained the drivers, the manual, and occasionally some proprietary software like Silky Pics and things like that. This is a conventional CD. This one is a much smaller CD. Now, this will still fit in your computer's CD drive because you've got that smaller inlay, which you might be able to see here. I presume because the CD is smaller, it can't store as much data. So this type of smaller CD may take up less space in a packet or a product box, or might be cheaper to produce. But these were really mass produced at the time, so I can see they're not being a huge deal of saving. But anyway, let's get on to the EyeFi. Let's get rid of this. So this is the box for the EyeFi Pro card. Now, I had the EyeFi. I used the EyeFi on a paid job with someone, and I also damaged my EyeFi card. So you could get EyeFi in a couple of sizes. I got the 8 gig version, and you could get it as a standard EyeFi card or an EyeFi Pro card. And the difference with the EyeFi Pro and the other one was, if you got the Pro one, it dealt with raw images, and I think that was the only difference between the Pro. So it's got all the stats on the back. This shows how old it is. The fact it's got Flickr and Mobile Me on the back. So the idea with the EyeFi card, and by the way, that's just a bit of paper, that's not an EyeFi card. I'm not bothered where my EyeFi card is because it had a problem, and it's a class 6 as well. The idea of it was you could take a photo on your camera, and this SD card would go into your camera, and you would turn on the Wi-Fi in here. It would take power from the camera, and as soon as you took an image, it would be transferred over to, say, your computer or a mobile phone app or a tablet. The speed wasn't very fast, so while this EyeFi Pro card could do raw images, it wasn't very fast, so I set mine to transfer the JPEGs. When I did photography, I would have a iPad set up. I think I used a program called Shutter Snitch or something along those lines, and that was compatible with the EyeFi card. It was much better than the app EyeFi had come up with themselves, and what would happen is the small JPEG would get transferred over and the raw would stay on the camera. So that would mean the person I was taking photos of could see the images that were coming out of camera. Now, it really didn't transfer that fast, so that was a bit of a downside to it as well. The other thing it could do was do geotagging, so it could record your location information, which was quite useful back in 2011, and it could act as a hotspot, but I never did that. Now, the main problem with the EyeFi card was it was a lot more expensive than a standard SD card of 8 gigabytes that was class 6. But there is a certain way you had to do things, and if you did something the wrong way, you ended up bricking your memory card. You had to format it in a certain way. You couldn't do a standard format, and I think I did a standard format and it stopped working. So it was very easy to break the EyeFi card. It was not as rugged as normal SD cards, and well, I ended up breaking mine just because I didn't follow the instructions, and I did something you would do with a normal SD card that ended up breaking it. I think I reformatted it in camera, and that somehow broke it. So it was a bit disappointing. The app wasn't very good either, and if you took video, it took ages to transfer over because the transfer speeds were so slow. The app was also quite buggy, so it was a really good idea. It was quite a novel invention, but my EyeFi card broke. I think I paid around £75 for the EyeFi card. Someone got me to help them do some professional work. The idea was they would have an EyeFi card and they would take pictures at an event, and the EyeFi card would stream the images over to Lightroom. I would be working on Lightroom on the computer they'd set up. I would quickly make a few adjustments and print the image. However, I knew when I sort of started speaking to this person from my experience that the EyeFi card would be too slow to do that and wasn't reliable. I don't think this person quite believed me. He wanted to give it a go, and what we did in the end was we just did SD card swapping. He would take his pictures, give me the SD card, and I give him a spare, and we'd work that way. The other thing with the EyeFi card is Toshiba also a few years afterwards brought out SD cards that had Wi-Fi capabilities in, and not only were they a lot cheaper, they weren't so fiddly, and they just seemed to work better. So not only was this expensive, in a few years time a bigger company did a better job with the technology anyway. Let's just have a quick look at the back. So pretty much what I've said here, there is a direct mode that gave you endless memory. So what this direct mode did was, as soon as you took a picture and it transferred it over to your computer or your device, it would delete the original off your SD card. So that meant allegedly you would never run out of memory. So we can see another clue how old this is: Windows XP, Vista, and Windows 7. So this was really interesting to find this box, because it did bring back some memories. Like I say, because the SD card broke, there wasn't really any point in keeping it, so I didn't bother keeping it to hand. It's probably somewhere in a box somewhere, but yeah, unfortunately, a great idea, but it just didn't pan out. Thank you. Goodbye.